Brazen midday shootings and safety concerns on public transit. Calgary police had a busy year making sure Calgarians are feeling safe in their own city. City News sat down for a year in review with Calgary Police Chief Mark Neufeld, which began with him reflecting on why he's proud of the work done in 2023.
When I think back to our members and the commitment to Calgary and all of the things that happened in terms of hosting the World Petroleum Congress, I think back to like the solving of historical homicides through innovations like investigative genetic genealogy and things that we'd never heard of before. I just think there was so much forward movement with the service in 2023. I think our people are what I'm most proud of.
What was the biggest challenge you faced in 2023?
These days, there's, challenges are a dime a dozen for anybody in civil society, but I think the key is there's opportunities in all of that. But I think, some things that really stand out for me, obviously, gun violence was a big story in 2023. But the irony of this is that I think we've been successful in bucking a trend. And so large cities have seen increases, obviously, in gun violence, particularly here in Alberta. I think the numbers in Alberta are, at the end of October, there was about 536 shootings in the province, which was about a 35% increase from the previous year. So in Calgary here, we're actually, as of today, we have about 95 shootings. This time last year, we would have had about 122. So we're about 22% reduction. So we've been able to buck the trend.
Looking at gun violence, the numbers are down, but it seems we're seeing more gun violence in public spaces, mall parking lots in the middle of the day. Why is this happening?
Out of the 95 shootings we've had this year to date, I would say 25% of them, or a quarter, are attributable to organized crime. So what we've seen there is, some movement of gangsters and individuals involved in the lifestyle between Calgary, the Lower Mainland, Ontario, Edmonton. We know that organized crime doesn't know any boundaries. So we've seen some very brazen shootings, as you say. And the challenge there is, obviously, it shakes people's confidence around safety in the city. It impacts individuals, impacts communities, and also a huge burden on finite public resources. So I'm thinking policing resources, health resources, and that type of thing. So that's a huge deal for the police service.
Transit safety, this has been a top concern for Calgarians. How has CPS responded to that throughout this year?
We jumped on this early this year with our what we call the Safe Public Spaces strategy. So CPS became very involved in this, both overtly, so more officers on the line, working with transit, working with the province, the sheriff's partnership in Operation Crest, and then also covertly. Lots of drug trafficking, lots of weapon carrying, and lots of behavior that we're not going to tolerate on transit.
It seems that protests are evolving. It's less, a one-off, one weekend. It seems they're happening more frequently. How is Calgary Police evolving to respond to that?
It's been a real challenge. I think the frequency and the complexity of protests has gained speed here over the last couple of years. If you think about sort of during COVID, we saw protests around anti-vax mandates and that type of thing, and those it began to be an every weekend sort of thing. And sort of coming out of COVID, I think we maybe thought some of that would dampen a little bit, but a lot of stuff's happened in the world since then. Geopolitics, if we think about the Russia invading Ukraine, the Eritrean situation in October, which was arguably more of a riot than a protest, but then the conflict in the Middle East. And so it's been very, very emotional. We've got communities that are hurting and wanting to get out and have their voices heard, which is important. Our members are doing a really good job in working with communities. I think what a lot of people don't see is the amount of work that happens between Monday and Saturday before the protest on Sunday, making sure that things will go well on the weekend. Now, there's been a couple times where we've seen blockages of intersections and this type of thing where there's been action taken, and that's produced a reaction that's understandable. But at the end of the day, we are out there actually helping both communities to be able to have their voices heard.
Well, Chief, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you to you and your listeners there. It's been great working with you this year, and we'll see you in 2024.